have returned. I felt the need to do a little bedazzlement. We're feeling festive. I tend to not do holiday themed videos, but I decided, you know, let's be fun and quirky. I don't know. And let's do a Halloween themed video, which is exactly what we're doing today. I need to stop with the weird prayer hand motions. It took me a while to figure out what I was gonna do for the Halloween themed video because painting pumpkins seemed kind of basic. So instead we're gonna do clay figures for Halloween. I bought this air dry clay at Hobby Lobby for $10, and I also got this little dandy pack of clay tools that I honestly don't really know what to do with. But we're gonna figure it out. So I've got all I think that I need, hopefully. Let's do this. Hello. We have a black background today to try and be spooky. Here is the clay that I am using as I stated in the intro, and then I have this beautiful array of tools here, and I don't know what any of them are used for. That one looks like it stabs, that one slices, that one drills, and clearly I don't clay much. I have these 2 wood bases that I don't remember where I got, but I'm using them, covering my workspace with some wax paper, and we're going to cut open the clay. There we go. And pretty. Well, now I'm gonna de-beautify it by taking out a decent sized chunk with some struggle. Then start sculpting it into a ball. Once I had done that, I grabbed another hunk of clay and sculpted that into a smaller ball. Boop. Then I'm going to carve little lines in the pieces to help them stick together better. I then took one of the wooden tools and began to smooth out the edges to give it a smoother transition and help it stay together. I also sculpted a spider mouth on the smaller sphere. Oop, I just gave it away. Was it even a secret to begin with? But yes, I am making a spider. I dipped my finger in some water, then rubbed it all over the spider's body to help smooth out the spider and make it so it's not so bumpy. So earlier I said that I've worked with this kind of clay before, and yes, I have. It was like 2 years ago and I had no clue what I was doing. Taking out another hunk of clay, I'm going to start making the legs of the spider. It was for a secret Santa gift, and I had the idea to sculpt their 2 favorite animals with clay. I forgot to take a picture of it, so I barely remember what it looks like, but I remember being really proud of it. But I do know that it wasn't the best sculpture ever, which makes sense because I was like 12. And here I am now, still having no idea what I'm doing and making mediocre clay sculptures. But I mean, I've gotten better, I hope. But I honestly don't know because I'm trying to shove 4 thick spider legs on one side of the body and I'm struggling a little bit. I flipped it over, which was a mistake. Ah, they're all falling off! All the legs came detached from the body. What was that about being better at sculpting? So I tried again. Reattached all the legs and didn't turn it over because I was afraid of it falling apart again. Was this a mistake? Quite possibly. I tried to make the transition from leg to body as smooth as possible so that it wouldn't look like the legs were strange growths instead of actually being part of the spider. You know what I could have added to make it more spooky? I could have added actual growths on the spider. It's kind of too late now. Once I finished one set of legs, I moved on to sculpting the other 4 legs of the spider. This was quite an enjoyable process. It was very relaxing? No, that's not the right word. It didn't take a lot of energy because I could just sit back in my chair and casually sculpt. That's the word. It was very casual. That still doesn't feel right. Oh, then I finally made the decision to put the clay into a plastic bag. And this is me, trying to flip it upside down again. Ah, no! And my fear of turning over the spider increased. Then I took the extra little scraps of clay left on my desk and mushed them all together to create a rock. I thought our little spider friend needed something to chill next to, and the nice thing about sculpting rocks is they don't need to be perfect. Making sure all the pieces fit, and there we go. My fingers are very clayish. I'm turning into clay, resetting my work area for the last spoopy sculpture of today, and attempting to rip out a huge chunk of clay, which wasn't enough, so I need more. And I'm very much struggling to grab the clay. Once I had more clay, I mushed it with the clay that I already had in my hand, sculpted it into a ball, and smoothed it out with some water. There was probably a much easier way to make this ball, but oh well. Grabbing Mr. Stabby here, I'm going to start carving in some lines from the top of the ball to the bottom. Can you guess what I'm making yet? I reached for another tool.
Ow, I just stabbed myself.
Anyway, I'm making a pumpkin. I wanted to do something a little more simple than the last one, even though the last one was pretty simple. So I decided on a pumpkin. I took another piece of clay and sculpted out a twisty vine to place on the top of the pumpkin. Attaching that, and smoothing out the edges. I then added some small details to the vine by carving in some little grooves.
Look at how cute that is.
I grabbed some more clay, then began sculpting it into a ball so I could pancake it and carve it into a little gravestone to stick next to the pumpkin. I carved in the classic rip, then moved on to another small piece of clay, sculpting it into a little ghost to float next to the gravestone.
And I made a little ghost.
Gave it a small face with the stabber, and you can't see it very well because apparently I don't know how to stop moving. Then I proceeded to take small pieces of clay and make them into little rocks to fill in the space on the base. That rhymed. And here is everything sculpted. I then set these on my dresser to dry for a few days, then they will be ready to paint. The spider is already showing evidence of the dry. Here is the spider back from its air dry vacation and it's ready to paint. Get out of here. I brought out my palette. Oh, hello there. I hated the reflection of my room light in the palette, so I turned it off. And there's my face again. Bringing out some white, some black, and some red, I'm going to play with the colors a bit and take paint from my palette knife and begin just splotching the paint onto the spider. I wanted to do a mix of white, black, and red because number one, they are more Halloweenish colors, and two, to give the spider some texture. I didn't want the spider to look really basic with one color because
It seemed kind of basic.
and oop, the red looks a little bit like blood. Let's make that not so prominent. The spider still looks like it's bleeding or done a murder. Ah! Why does it seem like turning it over is bad luck? Ah!
Oh no!
Oh geez, not again.
No!
I told you turning it over was a bad idea. Let's glue that on with some super freaking glue so it never comes off again. I then decided to give it some eyes. I'll come back to that later. Working on the bottom again. Luckily, it didn't fall apart this time. After I finished that, I went back to the eyes. I know that spiders have a ridiculous number of eyes, but I really didn't feel like painting all 8 eyeballs. I added little highlights to the spider's eyes to make it a little more cute.
The spider is so cute.
I guess I've accomplished that. Then I moved on to the rock. I painted it in the same style as the spider to, match. And here they are. Bringing out the hot glue gun because I'm going to be doing something special. We just gotta wait for it to heat up. Alright, we're good. I am going to glue down the rock first and then make some hot glue gun hairs that are just going to be spider webs. See what I did there? Well, not really, because you can't really see the webs that I'm making. Then I'm going to glue on the spider so he's partially on the rock, like so. Then I'm going to add more spider webs. And here it is. Sign it, and here is the completed sculpture. I am very proud of this one. Just look at him, he's so cute. And this is me trying to get closer so you can see the spider webs, because I like those too. Now it's time to paint and put together the pumpkin, ghost, and rock sculpture. Mixing up my desired paint, which includes yellow, red, and orange, I'm going to go ahead and start painting the pumpkin with different textures of color. I'd prefer if you didn't drop it. You know what happened last time.
No!
Flipping over the pumpkin to the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. Then I mixed up a nice brown color for the vine and began painting that in. Now it's time to paint these small pieces. All of these rocks are the same color, so it was pretty easy to paint all of them, and I decided to just go for the flat gray look. As the rocks got smaller, it became harder and harder to paint them, and I got paint all over my fingers. My fingers were so covered in paint, in fact, that they were becoming very sticky, and the paint on my fingers was sticking to the small sculptures, which was kind of annoying and a bit of a problem. Everything's a mess, so let's just clean that up. And here we are with all of the pieces, almost ready for assembly. Here is the completed sculpture. This one is probably my favorite of the two. It's just so friggin' adorable, and I love the little ghost's face. I definitely think I've improved since 2 years ago, and I plan on creating more clay things because this was really fun. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did, and also like the sculptures that I have created as much as I do. I hope you have a spooky rest of your day. Bye!